a modern one-woman variety show. This show is meant to give me some variety.
A full sensory experience.
The Freya Show!
Welcome back to another episode of The Freya Show. Today's theme is aloneness. Aloneness. You've heard me talk a lot about aloneness in my series of Tales of a Lone Wolf, the Loneliness Report. It seems to be something that I know something about. Me? No. Well, I did also write a book called Diary of a Lone Wolf. I do know a thing or two about being alone, which is not the same as loneliness. And we're going to explore aloneness versus loneliness. Not the same. And you know, we really couldn't make this show possible without the viewers like you. Shout out to Sailor Mike, Irene, Andre, and Kathy. There's others as well. I just can't remember your names right now off the top of my head. But you guys have been the ones who have been commenting and supporting my channel, and you're here watching the Freya Show. And so that's pretty cool. Thank you. We start out here alone, don't we? This is where we start. We're like in the mother's womb. We're alone but not alone. But we're kind of alone. We're just one little embryo in there. And then what develops is usually some codependence, other dependencies. We've got some shame in there, and that leads to the loneliness. So if we can just back it all up, get rid of the shame, get rid of the dependencies, get rid of the codependence, ooh, where do you land? Aloneness. This show is especially for those people who love to be alone, the lone wolves. And if you don't like to be alone, well, then my hope for you one day is that you will embrace your aloneness. One day you will transcend your loneliness to peaceful solitude. And the one thing that I found on the pathway to peaceful solitude was the practice of mindfulness. But before I could get into mindful living, I was stuck in stressful living. And being lonely is stressful. Being addicted is stressful to the body. Being alone is easy. It is, actually. It's easy. Because those other ways of being was allowing my body to stay in a state of stress. I was allowing my body to stay in a state of stress. And that's hard. And I still hold a lot of stress in my body, which is why movement is so important for me. And I hope you're going to love the movement that we're going to do today. This is not it. But this is a move that I like to do because the hips store a lot of stress. So just consider this a bonus move for you right now. We haven't even gotten into the movement part of the program, and we're already, I can't help it. Okay, guys, I can't. Don't forget the mindfulness program that I have. Free to Be Mindful is an 8-week program that's starting in January. Early bird pricing is on till November 30th, so sign up now and experience the practice of mindfulness within your own experience. But for real, mindfulness was the catalyst for me. And I stopped searching for love when I realized that it was already within me, that I am love, and that to seek love outside of yourself denies the love that you already are made of. It is you. We're non-conforming over here. You don't have to do what everyone tells you to do. You can be yourself. And within this theme of aloneness is this theme of being your real self, who you really are. All right, it's time to sit back and talk about this a little deeper. There's a creator called Pale Blue Wave out of Pennsylvania. I think that's where he is. And he's a photographer. He's on TikTok, he's on Instagram. And what he does is he goes around in a city and he looks for people and he takes portraits of them and he takes beautiful pictures of them. And then creates a video montage and all of this. And of course, the people get these beautiful free portraits of themselves. And he got a message from one of his followers that said, I'm 35, single, with my 19-year-old kitty. I live alone, hike alone, go on stupid little walks alone. I feel like I'm just fading into the ether and I don't want to be forgotten. So he went and visited her. This woman said that after being in a relationship for a long time and being single, it's hard to connect with people, even after using dating apps for like 10 years. And she says she knows there's a lot of people using a boat. This boat analogy, the photographer asked her to elaborate on that a little bit. And she said, yeah, the boat is your little canoe. That if you get caught in the storm, you'd feel so good to have somebody there to help you out. She told herself when she was younger that she would never be with someone who made herself miserable when she can make herself miserable alone. So she says she's yet to find someone who makes her only a little miserable, but she doesn't know where that person is. And when I'm listening to her talk and she doesn't know who that someone is, who's that person that might just make her a little miserable and more happy, is herself. Is herself. This is the key to transcending your loneliness and bringing it into a state of peaceful solitude and aloneness, yeah? She says that she wants someone to see her for who she is and not for what they want her to be or who they think she should be. And what I would tell her is that person is and always has been herself. Because what I know is that nobody makes me miserable. I make myself miserable. I do that to myself. People are not responsible for how I feel. They have an influence and an impact, but ultimately at the end of the day, I get to choose. And if I want to choose to be miserable, that is my choice. I'm not going to blame it on somebody else making me miserable. To learn like emotional boundaries. I think that people who are suffering in loneliness are also suffering without the understanding of what an emotional boundary is. That you are a container within yourself of all of the emotions. All of the emotions live within you. You are all of them. You can experience all of them, but don't stay in just one of them. Life is too vast to be in a vacuum of loneliness. And she says she's looking for that person to make her happy, okay? This is the same thing. That person is her. She can do it. But societal conditioning tells us that you can't be happy unless you have somebody in your life to share it with. I have no one to share my life with. No, you share it with yourself. You can. I know, this is a really weird concept for people to understand. Yes, we love to be able to share our lives with other people, but there's a reason you're on this boat by yourself right now. Embrace it. Celebrate it. And don't put a timestamp on how long you're supposed to be on that boat for. Name your little boat. The point is that while you're sailing down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. That song though, right? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. It is. If you want it to be, you can make it a dream. It all is a dream. And then we die. The point is, while you're sailing down the stream, you will encounter another person in their own little boat, and you can sail alongside together. Sometimes it might only be for a little while. Some of us make the mistake to let people climb into our boat, and the weight is too heavy. So it causes us to both sink. People have to stay in their own boats. So let's just meet over there on the shore, make a fire, grill up some salmon, potatoes, and asparagus, enjoy a beautiful night together under the stars, maybe set up a tent, go to sleep in there together. But then don't forget, we have our own boats. We have our own boats to sail off together in the morning. And still, we can go alongside in our boats. Or one day, maybe we decide to merge our boats. Maybe we do that. Maybe we build a bigger boat together. That would be cool. But that day would come after a while of journeying alongside one another for a while. There's no rush. There's no hurry. And that's what codependency is all about, is being in a rush and a hurry to jump in someone else's boat. And then what happens? It sinks. Once you've accumulated the resources to be able to know what that bigger boat together is going to look like, what it needs in order to house both of your needs, without being too heavily reliant on one another, because then the boat sinks. So you just got to see yourself as your own little vessel, your own vessel that's going down the stream in your aloneness. It's cool. There's lots to see along the way. Okay, there's lots to discover. And if you've never sailed off into sea alone before and this is new for you, it can be a little scary. You can really question if you have the capabilities, do you have what it takes to make it down there, weather through all the storms. But you're going to get down the stream, you're going to do it, and you'll be like, wow, I freaking did that. Look at me. And it doesn't mean you have to keep doing that all alone. You're going to find other people who are also weathering their own storms in their own boats. You're going to pass by them. You're going to hang out. You're going to check them out, see what's up. Okay? It's very much, I think, something that as we get to this stage in our lives, like for me, I'm 48. I'm sure a lot of you that are following me are well into your 50s or even 60s. And you get this. Like, you get what I'm talking about. But if I was to go back to my 30-year-old self, she would be like, no, we can't be doing this alone. Oh, no. And I remember it wasn't too long ago that I filmed a video for myself being like, oh, no, I just had this impending doom and anxiety that I will be alone forever.
Oh, no. For being single, I'm having so much anxiety.
This is a conditioned belief that we put into our own minds, you know, that it's bad to be alone forever. And if you say so, then you'll be a lonely ass motherfucker. I think this is the first time I really swore like that in the show, but it just felt right. I guess they would call that a lamph. Lonely ass a lamph. If you want to be a lamph, that's how it's gonna go. Watch out. Okay, so I've got 2 books here. The Anatomy of Loneliness. We're not going to be reading from this book. And when I say we, I mean me. This is by Teal Swan. Teal Swan, I really was like a huge fan of hers. I watched her a lot. I felt like I emulated her to a certain degree when I was like creating my own videos in the beginning. I don't really listen to her stuff that much anymore, but I bought her book, didn't I? How to Find Your Way Back to Connection. She really does highlight the whole secret and the key to overcoming loneliness, which is interconnection. How to find your way back to connection with yourself. That's what it's all about. She does cite shame as the pillar of shame. She's got a whole chapter on that. Fear. I certainly folded a lot of the pages in this book, which means there was probably a lot of good points. There's a part in here that's titled How to Avoid Manipulating Others. A person who needs help or needs to feel supported, but who cannot ask directly for help or support may develop an illness. Every one of us manipulates, but to what degree are we conscious of our manipulations? You know, and I think some of us get attached to loneliness, get attached to suffering. They're getting something out of that feeling. It's called self-pity. Because if you're sitting in self-pity, you never get out of loneliness with self-pity. The only way to get out of loneliness is with self-compassion. And so the book that I'm going to read from instead is by OSHO. I have a lot of his books. The first book of his that I picked up was called Living Dangerously. And I was at a point in my life where, boy, oh boy, was I ever living dangerously in a way that you could not even imagine. And so reading his book was very validating to read those words. And reading his words was like reading my own inner dialogue, what I already knew. It was just somebody was just confirming what I already knew within myself. Let's just be very clear on what validation actually is. Okay, if I go and park my car in a parking lot, and then I go and I get a ticket for parking that I paid for the parking for the car, and then I go into a store and they validate that ticket. That ticket already exists. I already paid for it. It's already mine. And they validate it. They put a stamp on it. You can't validate something that doesn't exist. I want to validate my parking. Well, where is it? Oh, well, I don't have it. Well, you got to go get it first, and then I'll validate it for you. You see? You can't be validated for something that doesn't already exist within you. So when I read Osho's words, I'm reading things that confirm and validate things that I already know. I don't need to be convinced of these things. If you have to be convinced of something that it exists, that's not validation. I don't know what that is. That's just useless. The only person that can validate you is you. And then when other people confirm what you already know, that's when external validation is actually purposeful. That's to be very wary of people who are saying otherwise. You have to be discerning. You have to know the difference between what is your truth versus somebody's projection of their wounded self on you that gets you further away from your truth. All right, I'm going to have to switch to my other mic because I can't hold this and read a book at the same time. I know this is just where we are, okay? This is where we are in the show. We're making it work. Making it work. Dun, 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 dun. Making it work. Okay? Get that song on your playlist. Making it work. Who sings that? I don't know who it is. Doug and the Slugs? Doug and the Slugs. My mom used to listen to that group, Doug and the Slugs. I don't know what song they... And OSHO will talk about not getting on a ship. He doesn't like relationships. He doesn't like any ships. Just relate. Relate to one another. Avoid relationships and instead learn how to relate. Because the relationship is what causes the codependence. Relating is interdependence. These are terms that we really have to come to learn and know. And if you've been watching my videos, you hear me talk about that from time to time. If you don't learn it now, then you never will. The last chapter in the book, part 4, aloneness. And he says, every effort that has been directed toward avoiding loneliness has failed. When you're trying to avoid something, it's going to keep coming back. It's going to keep popping back out at you. Oh, I thought I got rid of you. Oh, there you are again. Oh, I thought you were gone. We don't want to get rid of anything. We want to welcome it. We want to be with it. We want to get to know it intimately. Know your loneliness. Loneliness is an emotional state. You're going to have periods of loneliness. So don't think that it's something you have to shove away and avoid. Every effort that has been directed toward avoiding loneliness has failed and will fail because it is against the fundamentals of life. What is needed is not something in which you can forget your loneliness. What is needed is that you become aware of your aloneness, which is a reality. And it is so beautiful to experience it, feel it, because it is your freedom from the crowd. From the other, it is your freedom from the fear of being lonely. Do not fear loneliness. Welcome it. It's like if we look at that spectrum, loneliness becomes an integrated sense of your aloneness that visits you from time to time. And you welcome it. You integrate it. You don't fear it. You don't fear being lonely. Like, if I'm lonely, I'm lonely. It's like not fearing getting depressed. It's like, depression is visiting me right now, just like any other emotion will come and visit. Aloneness is your nature. Aloneness is your nature. If you watched my last YouTube video saying the future of human evolution is the lone wolf. Yeah, we're really getting on to something here. I will say. The first thing to realize is that whether you want to or not, you are alone. Aloneness is your very nature. You can try to forget it. You can try not to be alone by making friends, having lovers, mixing in the crowd. But whatever you do remains just on the surface. Deep inside, your aloneness is unreachable, untouchable. A strange accident happens to every human being. As he is born, the very situation of his birth begins a family. And there is no way, because the human child is the weakest child in the whole of existence. Other animals are born complete. A dog is going to remain a dog his whole life. He is not going to evolve and grow. Yes, he will become aged and old, but he will not become more intelligent. He will not become more aware. He will not become more enlightened. In that sense, all animals remain exactly at the point of their birth. Nothing essential changes in them. Their death and their birth are horizontal in one line. Only man has the possibility of going vertical, upward, not just horizontal. Most of humanity behaves like other animals. Life is just growing old, not growing up. Growing up and growing old are totally different experiences. I fucking love this guy, man. I love it. Man is born in a family among human beings. From the very first moment, he is not alone. Hence, he gets a certain psychology. Hence, he gets a certain psychology of always remaining with people. In aloneness, he starts to feel scared, unknown fears. He is not exactly aware of what he is afraid of. But as he moves out of the crowd, something inside him becomes uneasy. To be with others, he feels cozy, at ease, and comfortable. It is because of this reason he never comes to know the beauty of aloneness. The fear prevents him. Because he was born in a group, he remains part of a group. And as he grows in age, he starts making new groups, new associations, new friends. Already existing collectivities don't satisfy him. The nation, the religion, the political party. He creates his own new associations. Rotary Club, Lions Club. But all these strategies are just in service of one thing: never to be alone. The whole life experience is of being together with people. Aloneness seems like a death. In a way, it is a death. It is a death of the personality that you have created in the crowd. That is a gift of others to you. The moment you move out of the crowd, you also move out of your personality. In the crowd, you know exactly who you are. You know your name, you know your degrees, you know your profession, you know everything that is needed for your passport, your identity card. But the moment you move out of the crowd, what is your identity? Who are you? Suddenly you become aware that you are not your name. Your name was given to you. You are not your race. What relationship has race with your consciousness? Suddenly your personality starts dispersing. This is the fear, the death of the personality. Now you will have to discover freshly. You will have to ask for the first time who you are. You will have to start meditating on the question, who am I? And there is a fear that you may not be at all. Perhaps you were nothing but a combination of all the opinions of the crowd. That you were nothing but your personality. Only love can be courageous. Do you love yourself? Do you love this existence? Do you love this beautiful life, which is a gift? It has been given to you without you being even ready for it, without your deserving it, without your being worthy of it. If you love this existence, which has given life to you, which goes on providing every moment life and nourishment to you, you will find courage. And this courage will help you to stand alone, like a cedar of Lebanon, high reaching to the stars, but alone. In aloneness, you will disappear as an ego and personality, and you will find yourself as life itself, deathless and eternal. Unless you are capable of being alone, your search for truth will remain a failure. Your aloneness is your truth. Your aloneness is your divineness. One last part I'll read here, because there is a lot. Only those people, very few people, who have stood alone in their being, in their clarity, in their light, who have found their own light, who have found their own flowering, who have found their own space, they can call their home, their eternal home. Those few people are the emperors. This whole universe is their empire. They don't need to conquer it. It's already conquered. By knowing yourself, you have conquered it. This girl who is in her little boat and she's scared to be in her boat because what if the storms come and she can't handle the storms? No, you can. You can with courage. Okay, this is the last little part I'll read. This last little part. Stranger to ourselves. Chapter 15. We are born alone, we live alone, and we die alone. Aloneness is our very nature, but we are not aware of it. Because we are not aware of it, we remain strangers to ourselves, and instead of seeing our aloneness as a tremendous beauty and bliss, silence and peace, at easiness with existence, we misunderstand it as loneliness. Loneliness is a misunderstood aloneness. Once you misunderstand your aloneness as loneliness, the whole context changes. Aloneness has a beauty, a grandeur, a positivity. Loneliness is poor, negative, dark, and dismal. Loneliness is a gap. Something is missing. Something is needed to fill it, and nothing can ever fill it because it is a misunderstanding in the first place. As you grow older, the gap also grows bigger. People are so afraid to be by themselves, and they do any kind of stupid thing. I have seen people playing cards alone. The other party is not there. They have invented games in which the same person plays cards from both sides. What's wrong with that? It's called solitaire. The ordinary man goes on trying to forget his loneliness, and the meditator starts getting more and more acquainted with his aloneness. If you need some words to validate what you know is true within you already, this is a truth that you know and maybe you forgot. Maybe your truth that had been forgotten needs to be revisited and then validated by what you are reading in here. Such a good book. One of my faves. One of my faves. Lots of things underlined. That's how when I read, I don't anyway, you don't need to know all that. Now is the time for show and tell. Are you ready? Here she is. The Little Mermaid. Look at her little fin back there. Did I press record? Are we recording? Today is not a whole baton routine. Today is The Little Mermaid. My Little Mermaid that I got, I have two, actually, and two of them together. The Little Mermaid. She embodies today's theme of aloneness. She was sculpted by some guy in Denmark. I can't remember what his name is. It was a long time ago, maybe in the 1930s. I'm not sure if I'm right on that or not. And I guess it was a ballerina that he had model for it, but then the ballerina didn't want her body to be nude, so then he used his wife's body as the nude part, and then the head was the ballerina's. Why not just do your whole wife? I don't know what that was all about. Anyway, over the years in Denmark, the Little Mermaid has been decapitated a bunch of times. Poor gal. And she's been had red paint all thrown on her. She's been vandalized a bunch. Well, she's just right out in the middle. There's nothing that's protecting her. Just what a strong symbol, of aloneness. She sits there and at the edge of the water on this rock. People come and take pictures of her and all that kind of stuff. My mom, she got me this other one for my birthday, or maybe it was Christmas one year, probably my birthday. There's some Danish roots to this, you see. So yeah, I chose The Little Mermaid as my show and tell because she represents aloneness. She also represents part of my heritage, my culture, being Danish. My dad was born in Denmark, and my dad, he passed away in January, and we had a few things for him to say goodbye to the man three times over the year. And then we had a Viking funeral where my dad said that he wanted to do what the Vikings do, which is they put their corpse on a wooden raft and light it on fire and push it out into the sea. And that's exactly what we did for my dad. Not his actual corpse, though. It was his ashes. We put in this cardboard made boat that my stepmom made, and we lit it on fire in Lake Ontario. And I was like, this is this man's best day of his life right now. Non-life moment. Best day of his life was when he wasn't even alive, I feel like. So I have a lot of Danish heritage in me, Viking heritage. So the Little Mermaid is there in Denmark, and she was sculpted. I think just more of art, and to tell the tale of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale, which is the Little Mermaid. So Little Mermaid, she lived in a utopian underwater kingdom with her widowed father. And she lived with her paternal grandmother and her 5 older sisters. So she was the youngest. And each of them were born a year apart. And the Little Mermaid is fascinated by the world above the sea. Like, I'm just down here in my own little world. There's something more up there. What is that up there? I want to be part of that. She was feeling lonely and isolated. She had a family. She had her dad, she had her grandma, she had all these sisters, but she felt lonely and isolated. And she wanted to know about this other world above her. And she always asked her grandmother to tell her stories about all these humans. Hans Christian Andersen, Danish man, wrote a lot of fairy tales, very interesting. I mostly read them all when I was growing up. And The Little Mermaid. Look at how even vulnerable she is. Like, she has no clothes on. Like, her butt and her boobs are showing, And she's just she's like this. She's like this with her little fins out the back, which is what our feet do when we cross them over back there. We look like we could have a little mermaid tail. And sometimes you just don't feel like you fit in. You don't feel like you belong. You feel like there's another world out there with people that might be more like you. And I think, didn't she? She tried to be part of the human world, but it didn't work because she's a fish. She couldn't survive up there. Didn't she get some spell on her to be turned into a human? I think maybe that happened. And then like, she wanted to go back to where she came from. I think the lesson here is just to accept who you are and don't wish you were something different. Don't wish that you could be transformed into something else. If only I was like this, or if only I didn't have this disorder or this deformity, then life would be better for me. No, it already can be if you just learn some self-acceptance. Like, we have these moments where we have to go and explore. We got to go and check stuff out. We got to go see what else everyone else is doing out there. But at the end of the day, everyone else is doing what we're doing. No, everybody is the same. Everybody's just trying to figure this out. So instead of worrying about what everybody else is doing, just it's much better to focus the energy inward. You know this. Okay. The song for today is by one of my faves. A lot of his music was just coming to the forefront when I was being born back in the 70s, and his name is Stevie Wonder. Oh yes, what a soulful man. He was blind, Like, he couldn't see anything. He didn't know what anyone looked like, yet he was really fashionable himself. He had like really cool hair. Like, he put all these beads in it. He had cool shades. Well, because I guess a lot of blind people wear cool shades because the light is sensitive to their eyes. He played the piano, and he really grooved out on the piano, and his voice, wow, like, is just from his soul. There's a song that he sings called For Once in My Life. You know the song? For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Codependency, can you say? It depends how you want to listen to this song. And as I grew up and out of codependent behaviors, I started to listen to those songs from a different perspective. And I started to hear the lyrics, for once in my life, I have someone who needs me, someone who loves me like no one's loved me before. That's me. I now sing these songs about me. I am that person. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. And that's me. I want to thank me for making this happen. And I want to thank me for making this possible. Now I am so complete because I have this thing out there that I was longing for. The longing is rooted in your loneliness. Cut it out. The longing is rooted in your not enough on your ownness. Okay? We don't want that either. For once in my life. You know how it starts? It goes do 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 do. For once in my life. Okay, I'm not gonna be singing. Don't even worry. Now, the movement that we're gonna do with this song, okay, because we gotta attach movement with music. Like it just has to go together. So what we're gonna do is a movement of push and pull. Okay, it's a qigong move. I'm going to show you. What we have is a push and pull, 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 pushing and pulling. And what are we pushing and pulling? Is our own energetic life force that lives within us. Like flowing cosmic water. Your life force energy is connecting to who you are.
For once in my life, I have someone who needs me, someone I've needed so long. For once unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once I can touch what my heart used to dream of long before I do. Oh, someone warm like you would make my dream come true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. As long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life.
A little out of breath. I hope you are too. I hope you got up and you danced a little to little Stevie. I know some of you aren't much for dancing, but oh man, your physical body, I'm telling you, who cares what the heck you look like? It feels really good. That's a wrap on the Freya Show. Remember to live fully, love fiercely, and always be free to be you. Because who else are you going to be? Who else are you even going to be? Like, for real. Like, if not for yourself, then who else?
The Freya Show.